Good day, everyone. How are you on this beautiful day? This is Power Hour Coaching, and I'm Bernadette Boas of Powerhour Coaching. I'm so thrilled that you're here today. We're going to get right into it because what we're going to talk about today are really, really critical and important things, especially from a business, career, professionalism perspective. So we're going to talk about how to disagree respectfully. How to disagree respectfully. And then I got a question about how to overcome doubt. There's more to it, and I'll share it when we get to that question. But if you ever struggle with self-doubt, and I would say all of us do, then what are some easy practical things that you could do in regards to that? And then I'm going to answer a question that I got. And I've been getting it more and more, but I was asked a question about a certain particular mug that I use. And it's not this one, but so I'll share that as a kind of a really quick, fun end of our conversation type of discussion. Anyway, all right. So I just want to remind you, you can leave comments in any of the streaming platforms that you may be watching this. We are streaming onto Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitter. So should you have a question or a challenge that you're dealing with, then feel free to reach out there and let me know, because I'll keep an eye out. And in some cases, based on the stream, I may see your name and your profile picture, and some that I don't. You may even have to give StreamYard permission for me to see it if you're interested in doing that. Now, if you're not interested in doing that and you don't necessarily want to publicly broadcast whatever question or challenge that you're having, then please be sure to DM me. Or what you could do also is schedule some time with me. If you have any type of business, career, life type of situation that you're dealing with, don't feel like you're alone out there, because you're not. Reach out, and I'd be happy and thrilled and honored to spend 30 minutes of time with you to give you some tips and strategies that will keep you moving forward. All right. But throughout this next roughly 45 minutes to an hour, if you should have any questions that you want to discuss, then please feel free to leave your comment. And if you would just want to say hi, I like that too. Anyway, so that's what we're going to talk about: how to disagree respectfully, how to overcome self-doubt, and then a little just bonus. All right. So how to disagree respectfully. Now, we've talked of similar questions and challenges that many of you have recently over the last several weeks, really when it comes to dealing with conflict, dealing with disagreements or difficult conversations. This one was provoked in regards to even LinkedIn. So professional networks, professional environments. You could be sitting at a meeting, and yet you have something that you really feel strongly about. And it's contrast to whatever someone else might be saying or proposing or putting out there and offering up. And it is really critical for all of us to have a safe place, whether it is at work or in our life, to where we can raise our disagreements, we can raise our opinions and our views. And yet at the same time, it is our responsibility individually when we go to do that, to raise it in such a way that doesn't create a lot of hostility or hate or just tension between the parties. Because what you're seeking to do is just be heard and to be understood, whether or not you're agreeing with someone or not. Every individual, all they ever want from any of us in the workplace or at home is to be heard and understood. We don't necessarily need to be agreed with all the time. And as a matter of fact, that would be pretty boring, wouldn't it? If everybody agreed and, sat around and hugged each other and sang Kumbaya, that would be an awfully boring type of environment to be in. So we have talked about in the last several weeks, and you can always go back to any one of our other Powerhouse coaching sessions that are still streaming out there, whether it's LinkedIn, Facebook, or YouTube. And you can look for those sessions that were on how to really have healthy conflict. But this discussion today about disagreeing respectfully came up as a result of a post that I saw earlier on LinkedIn. Now, LinkedIn, like many other platforms, well, more so other associations or gatherings, is very business focused. And so even when I see posts that are more kind of a Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, I sit there and kind of question it myself as to whether or not it's appropriate for LinkedIn. But that's not my place to judge. It's that person who's posted it, right? And so the post that was posted earlier was of, and I want to make sure I get her name correctly, Erin Opfel. You can go onto LinkedIn and find it actually today if you start streaming through, or look for Erin Opfel, and that's Opfell. So she posted an update to the network that basically was saying and acknowledging her truth of being transgender. And she had a before picture and an after picture. And she said, and so I go by Erin. I didn't even pay attention to what her name was before that, because that wasn't, at least for me, that wasn't important. But I was thrilled and I was so proud. And I felt really good as a human that she felt safe to go ahead and share this on a professional professional platform, a network. And she's been getting tons of love, hundreds and hundreds of comments and likes and shares and you name it. But there's always one. There is always one. So then this gentleman, I'll just use his first name is Ryan. He comes out and he basically says that this post is not appropriate for LinkedIn and should be put on something like Facebook or elsewhere. And you can only imagine the commentary that came back from that. And yet, at the same time, he has the right. She put her view and her opinion out there. He certainly has a place, being that he's there and he's seeing this coming through his stream, has a place to then voice his view or opinion. And if it wasn't congratulations or you rock or, living your truth, like many other comments were, if he did disagree that it belonged there or didn't belong there or not, well, that's totally appropriate. But people, please understand something. Words matter. All right. Words matter. Had he placed it in so many different other ways, he would not have received the backlash that he's been getting. And some of that backlash, even I contributed to in a respectful, hoping him to gain some insight type of way. But he does have a right to voice his disagreement. But what could he have done differently? Without pretty much hating on this individual is, well, there's two things about it. One, the first thing that spoke to me from his comments was, all right, there's something personal about this. He has a personal view, a personal opinion, a personal disagreement in regards to this. And he, again, has the right to have that. However, how he could have handled it and how you can handle disagreement respectfully is simply ask questions for understanding. He could have started with questions. Why, Erin, do you think that it's appropriate that this type of post is on is on LinkedIn? She would have, instead of even though it doesn't hurt that, all the other people who are commenting, following, and liking this woman's post, he or she could have come back to say, well, I am working to notify my business network of how I want to be, how I want to be referred to. I'm doing this to let other people know that if yesterday I walked in to your establishment as a male, I'm now showing up as a female and I'd like to be referred to as Aaron and forget whatever my name was before. And it is totally appropriate for her to notify her business network to do that. And he could have even gone on to say, well, I don't believe blah, blah, blah with a question. So there's so many ways, words matter. There's so many ways that we can be disagreeing or raising a dissenting viewpoint or opinion, but do it respectfully, do it professionally. Because I then want to talk about the impacts, not only to the victim. So here, and I'm praying that Erin obviously is confident enough in her own skin. She's found her truth and her being. And so she's confident enough to just dismiss, because I'm sure she's gotten enough of it already in her journey. However, what he also needs to understand is that there's an impact to him. And when I go through, especially LinkedIn, when I go through streams on LinkedIn and I see some of the comments to be so full of hate and venom and just pure disdain, I just sit there totally flustered as far as, what were you thinking to put out into a platform, a network that is made up of your peers, your bosses, your senior executives, your vendors, your partners, your clients, future employers, future recruiters? What were you thinking to put that type of commentary out there in that type of network? Did you really think it was going to benefit you? And unfortunately, he's definitely feeling, he may not care. That's a whole different conversation we can have, and we will in just a second. But he may not be concerned about what other people think. He's voicing his opinion. She raised hers by, the post that she made. However, I just need to stress this. You can have a very differing, very contrasting viewpoint on something, on a issue, but there's different ways for you to be able to raise that up in a very respectful, professional manner. And the number one way to do that is through asking questions. Because obviously so going back to the personal that I mentioned with him, obviously there's a personal belief, personal issue that he has with Erin's, posting of her transition. And again, that's fine. So he just needs to really understand that he could be kind of opening his eyes and considering, different views that he's not familiar with. He may not even be comfortable with. And he could have done it in so many different ways by just asking questions and really seeking to want to understand. And that's where most people really break down when it comes to having very constructive, open, transparent, even challenging, even uncomfortable conversations with individuals, is because they allow their emotions to take over and they are only focused on what it is they're going to say and when are they going to be able to insert themselves, in the next second or two, as opposed to intentionally and purposely and thoughtfully asking questions and actively listening to understand. And that's where he just completely broke down. Again, he may not care. And that's the other thing that all of us need to keep in mind when people do just automatically, especially on platforms like a LinkedIn, automatically just kind of knee-jerk react their viewpoints, and they insert themselves, and not in a very supportive, motivating way. Is they're just dealing with something personally, and this is hitting that nerve, and making them uncomfortable, and therefore they're projecting it back out. And you can't control that. You can't change that. Now, what you could do is you can influence it. And so what I happened to do is I came back and asked him a few questions to kind of get him maybe to think about what it is he said and how he said it. But again, he may not care. And I can in this case, Aaron and the hundreds of people that are on that LinkedIn post really can't and shouldn't want to spend time feeding it and kind of getting worked up about it and stressed out about it. There comes a point where you just have to kind of say, okay, got it, and walk away. Now, what was interesting, and this is another thing for all of us to keep in mind when we are raising disagreements and we want to do it in a respectful way. Here, his viewpoint was that it wasn't a professional business update or post or information that needed to be shared. It was personal, and that belongs on another platform. Well, him just saying that is him raising up his own personal opinion and viewpoint, right? And so he totally contradicted what he was, and when he was hypocritical about what he was sharing and telling Aaron. And so a number of people pointed that out to him. Again, he may not get it, may not understand it or want to understand it. But that's the truth of it all. So the first and most critical thing when it comes to wanting to raise up a disagreement, it could be with your boss in a meeting. It could be, with an idea someone's sharing in a group environment. It could be at home. You just want to ensure that you are approaching it even before you get into it. You're approaching it in a mature, respectful, and professional way, especially if it's going to be on a business network. Certainly raise it. We all have the right to raise our views, but really be thoughtful and intentional about how you go about doing that. Now, I want to provide you some tips, and I consider them the 5 Ps, and you can use this across the board, whether it is dealing with conflict, dealing with a difficult conversation or a disagreement like we're talking about. These 5 Ps really translate into a lot of different scenarios. All right. So in summary, the 5 Ps are plan, prepare, practice, pursue, and process. All right. Plan, prepare, practice, pursue, and process. So planning is just basically, and I'm going to use this example and Ryan throughout this. Planning would be think before you talk. Planning is think before you write and type and hide behind the computer. Maybe you have a profile picture or your name's, there or not there, but think about it. But plan what it is that you want to say, right? Plan what it is you disagree with. Plan what it is you want the goal and the outcome to be of this. I don't even know that he really thought about what is going to be the outcome of my raising this up. Am I looking for her to take it down and put it somewhere else? What is my objective here? Why am I going to get into this muckety muck of a disagreement, especially in a very hateful, disrespectful way? And not to say that he went in going, I'm going to be disrespectful. However, take it from someone who knows there are some people out there that are always looking to start a fight. They like to get into the muckety muck. I was guilty of that for years and, learned that there is nothing good that come out of that for anybody else or myself. And I think if Ryan really thought about it, I would wonder if he would question, was I really just looking for a fight? Was I looking to stir the pot? That's not what you want to do. So plan. That's the first P, is to plan. Plan, what is your goal and objective? What is this all about? that you're looking to, approach. It could be a performance review. It could be going to the boss with a issue that you need to raise up. It could be going to the boss with an issue about the boss that you need to raise up. It could be a conflict that you're having with other members at work or at home, and you need to get it addressed. Plan it out. All right. So then prepare. Now, what prepare means versus plan is putting together all the nuts and bolts. And now preparing is structuring it, even logistically. And I talk a lot about this with my clients, especially those managers who are having to deal with difficult performance reviews or disciplinary action, whatever the case might be, or they're even just, going into a meeting they know is going to be hot, as I often call it, because there's going to be a lot of disagreement, a lot of raised voices and whatnot. So to prepare not only what you had planned out, but now you're kind of structuring it in, all right, so I'm going to raise it up in these words, verbally or written. I'm going to expect these objections coming back, and therefore I want to prepare a response in advance. You could arrange preparing logistics, meaning if you are online, obviously there's not a lot to prepare unless someone thought, okay, well, I want to raise this up and yet I don't want to be visible. So I'm going to, remove my name or remove my profile picture or whatever the case might be. LinkedIn is not that easy to do so other than maybe your picture, but you'd be surprised the extreme people will go to kind of become anonymous. They feel safe that way behind their computer screen. But in person or on camera or on a phone call, you can set up things logistically. The time that you handle something, for instance, it just came to me. For instance, there is a lot of planning and preparing as far as when does someone give someone a bad performance review or put them on a PIP or have to let them go. When do I want to give someone accolades and awards and, bonuses, and I want to make it public or even if it's private. So logistically, where do I want this to happen? If I'm going to be in having this disagreement and I need to raise up this issue, how can I kind of get ourselves into a neutral space? I don't want to go into the boss's office. I don't, want them necessarily come to my office. I don't want to sit behind a desk or sit in front of the desk. I don't want to be in a power position of a higher seat or a lower seat, certain place at the table, that kind of thing. There's a lot you could be preparing before you go in. And then I always say to practice. In the case of Ryan, his practicing could be writing what he was going to write before he hit the post button, he could have thought, okay, is this going to add value to anything? Is this going to create a dialogue? Is this going to be clear as far as what my difference of opinion is? So there's things that he could have practiced along the way. At the same time, I also go to the full extreme of doing performance reviews or having a difficult conversation with someone or dealing with a conflict. There's definitely ways you could be practicing that on your own in front of a mirror. You could ask a friend to kind of role play with you. You can even role play with your team before maybe you go into a bigger team situation, whatever the case might be. But you definitely want to leverage your planning and preparing by practicing. And then, of course, you have to pursue. You have this disagreement, you have this conflict. You definitely want to, raise it up. You've already, planned, prepared, and practice how you're going to do that respectfully. And now it's just time to pull the trigger. And trust me when I say that sounds easier than, said than done, because our next question that I was asked about was doubt, self-doubt. So all of a sudden, people are getting nervous when they all now have to go and pursue taking care of that issue or raising that disagreement. It could be even as fast as sitting in a meeting or sitting in a big conference and someone, wants people to raise their hand and ask a question or even voice their viewpoint. And all of a sudden the hands go down or the people kind of like sit back and they kind of are looking around so people don't kind of catch their eye and ask them to, participate. So it can happen very quickly. It can happen very, planned out. And you just always kind of want to be present and be thoughtful and intentional. So then you can raise it up and be present and do it in a manner that's going to achieve the goal and the objective you have for inserting yourself. All right. So you have to pursue, you have to do it. You have to take action. And once you do, even with a very uncomfortable, maybe tension, maybe even the other party really reacted poorly, you yourself, having done the planning, preparing, and practicing, now pursuing, are going to walk away. And even if you didn't get what you wanted, you're going to feel good that you actually addressed and you actually approached it. All right. And then the last one is process. And what I would want you to do here is just simply think about it. Like, I would hope, and I'm going to go back to it later on this afternoon when I have some free time. I would hope that Ryan and even others, even Erin, regarding this post that she placed out there, and Ryan came back with some disrespectful and kind of, hate-filled type of commentary. I would hope that he really sits with all of the comments that are coming back to him and really just sits with the impact. Remember, we just talked about the impact. You're raising up and disagreeing in a respectful way can certainly set new perceptions of you to other people. And the question is, are they going to be good perceptions or are they going to be bad perceptions? And I actually had to make a comment to Ryan to have him think about, what do you think your company is going to say about your representation of yourself, but also the company? Because keep in mind, everybody, when it comes to LinkedIn, you're tied to a company on LinkedIn. So that company is now impacted by anything you do out there. And we certainly know that when it comes to, like job interviews and working to get a promotion or advancement. And social media is used to validate whether or not a person's a good fit for a company, a person's a good fit for advancement, what their actual social presence is all about. And so in processing, I would always want you to kind of walk away from whether it's a small issue or a big issue and really assess and really think through, how did it go? How did it go against the plan and your preparation and how you practice? Are there tweaks that need to be made? Are there things that you didn't say or ask? How could you do better? Or what do you want to continue, leveraging because it worked really well? So I want you to process what exactly just happened. And then, and I should make this another P, but then I want you to let it go. Maybe that will be purge. I want you to let it go. It's done. Don't hang on to it. The past is the past, even 1 minute ago. Let it go and just leverage all the good information that you could take from it. Because every difficult situation, every lesson, every hardship, every tragedy, every struggle, every pain has blessings within it. And so you just want to walk away and be able to leverage all of that. And all I can say to Erin out there, and I will send you a note, is bravo. Bravo for raising up and speaking your truth and letting your network know how you want to be referred to. There is no better professional post than ensuring that when you are going into the workplace, online or physically or on a phone call, you're being treated respectfully. And one's name is a huge component of that. For instance, I don't want to be called Bernie or Bern or Brenda. I get that a lot too. So her setting up the expectation of how she wants to be referred to, let alone the fact that, she had a male name before and now she's, wanting to be referred to as Erin, and her professional photo, it now reflects that. Bravo. I mean, what courage that took because of potential Ryans out there. And at the same time, now we know. And now those that do interact with you know how to refer to you. So kudos, 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 kudos. All right. So I want to be sure that we also link in. So please go to my profile on LinkedIn. It's real easy, Bernadette Boas. Why make it complicated? And link in with me. And you could always leave me a private message, DM me with whatever question or a challenge that you might be dealing with. And I would love to help you. And yet, if at the same time, if you need something more involved than me just responding maybe in an email or a voicemail, then feel free to schedule a 30-minute session with me. It's all about you. I won't even kind of go into who I am because obviously you know, and therefore you book some time with me. But if you have a challenge or a question or a situation, maybe you have a decision or an opportunity you're considering, and you just need to bounce ideas off of someone and get some tips and strategies, then, schedule a call at coachmebernadette.com/discovery call. All right. Okay. Oh, I should also mention, one, we have a new website, and I've been wanting to kind of update this for several weeks ongoing, just so you all know. So Powerhour Coaching has been revamped and refreshed to really target in on those corporate executives, HR leaders, and team managers who, want to go from just being a so-so manager and executive to a powerhouse leader. And so I'd love for you to check out the website. And at the same time, you can always download a free copy of the 3 must-have myths for success. 3 things that you've heard time and time and time again that are wrong and they need to be changed. And therefore, what are some tips and strategies you can use in place? Okay. All right. So let's move on. Oh, I guess I could share with you the third question really quick as I try to lubricate my voice. And the third question was about my mug. Now, obviously, it's not this one. Nothing special here, right? It's really about this one. This one I use when I'm broadcasting Shedding the Bitch podcast. And I do a video, so that's where people are seeing it. And so recently, over the last couple of months, I've probably gotten half a dozen people asking about, okay, where do I get this mug? Now, hold tight, because I will let you also know we've recently revamped Shedding the Bitch podcast to be Shedding the Corporate Bitch, specifically to target in on those executives in the corporate world who are really looking to amp up and become powerhouse leaders. So we've recently rolled that change out. And so if you go to any one of your podcast streaming services, Apple, Spotify, you can find the show Shedding the Corporate Bitch there. And at the same time on our Shed the Bitch TV channel and all the other places, it's getting, changed out. So are the mugs. So we will have Shedding the Corporate Bitch mugs. And if there's still a demand for this, because this brand is still, very viable, then we'll hold on to that one as well. But you can reach out to me and I can let you know when they will be available. And then they'll be available on powerhourcoaching.com. So you can always keep an eye out over there. All right. So we took care of that in that little transition break. Okay. Our next question is about doubt, self-doubt. Who has it? I do. Not all the time and not nearly as much as I used to, simply because the fact that what I'm going to share with you are some tips, but overall a process that I use myself each and every day. And I created it through my own journey over the last 12 years. But let me get into the discussion from Gail around this question. She's writing a book and she is suffering with a lot of self-doubt. The self-doubt goes from everything as her saying to herself, who are you to write a book? No one's going to want to read it. Does it really have any value? So forth and so on. Now, certain things trigger me. And this certainly triggered me, because I went through the same exact thing roughly 12 years ago now. Oh my gosh, it might be our anniversary. Um, I started writing my book in roughly July, August of 2010, and definitely experienced what Gail's feeling, that self-doubt, those questions of who am I to write a book? Who's going to want to read my book? Do I have anything really good to say? Is this, going to be important to anybody? So forth and so on. And even in the muckety muck of writing it, there was about a 2.5 month gap where my editor, Nicole, love her, she was expecting and receiving pages on a regular basis for her to edit, and do it proactively. So we're kind of right on top of then when we want to make sure the manuscript is finished. And yet she found that I was kind of not handing her pages for a good 6 weeks. And so she calls me. She's like, what's going on? I'm like, nothing. Everything's good. She's like, no, it's not. She's like, meet me at the Chick-fil-A, which is like down the street from where I am. And we did. And she said, so what's really going on? And after fighting it a little bit, I finally kind of, broke down. And I basically said, well, I'm at a point of my story that is very personal, and I'm trying to decide if I really get into it and if it's valuable and again, purposeful to the story and to the objective I have for the book, or if I'm just need to move on from it. And now the book is what I published back in late 2011, Shedding the Corporate Bitch, Shifting from Bitch to Rich in Life and Business. And it's my personal story about being that nasty individual, recognizing that, actually needing to, because I was, fired as a result. And then the journey I went on, what I call excavating my soul, so I could transform and, and shift from that nasty mindset into more of an empowered mindset. And so we talked, and she said, well, isn't the objective, didn't you say that your goal is to be as transparent and honest and open as possible in order to help others prevent what you kind of went through, you put other people through, so forth and so on? And I said, yes. She said, then you need to just keep moving forward, and you need to, get it out and write it. So I totally understand what Gail's going through. And yet you can replace book with anything. What do you have self-doubt about? I have self-doubt about this job I was just given, or this promotion I just received, or asking for a promotion, or this, new project or opportunity I have, or this new relationship I have. I'm doubting myself as to whether or not I can do a podcast, write a book, be a speaker, earn the money that I'm earning. Self-doubt kind of plays a part in, all aspects of life. And it's just a matter of how do you deal with it. And so recognize first that self-doubt for me also kind of keeps me humble. It keeps me intentional, keeps me really thinking and learning, and therefore growing. So self-doubt does not have to be a bad thing. Self-doubt does not have to be looked at as weakness. As a matter of fact, I would look at it just the opposite. I would look at it as strength. And the key there is then using those feelings of self-doubt to recognize kind of where are the limitations that you're feeling, and therefore where's the growth opportunity that you have for yourself. All right. So whatever that self-doubt might be, recognize it as a strength, and then just do some work, which I'm going to share with you what you could do some work to work your way out of it. All right. And again, like anything, it's not that you fall, it's, that you get up. And it's not how quickly you fall, it's how quickly you can get up. So you can leverage what I have formulated, I'll say, over the last 12 years, and that is what I call our shift to riches formula. I recognized in those 12, 14 years through my own excavating of my soul that I went through certain stages, almost like the stages of grief, or and that they were very discreet. And I was able to pick up on kind of exactly what were those things that culminated into this shift to riches formula. So there's 5 stages of it. And those are discover, confront, and shed. So you can create and accelerate. And again, this can be used on a daily basis, just like the 5 Ps, on a daily basis to really get through any type, not just of self-doubt, but of fear, which self-doubt comes from, insecurity, even just working through a problem or an opportunity or a decision you need to make. You can use these steps to really work through and shift yourself into a place of confidence and certainty and boldness and energy and persistence and determination. All right. So leading you in my world to become a powerhouse leader in your work and in your life. So again, discover, confront, shed, create, and accelerate. In the discover phase, when it comes to self-doubt specifically, some of the questions, and again, life is all about asking questions. Why do I exist? What is the universe really about? So forth and so on. But when it comes to your self-doubt, ask yourself, what is causing it? So in the case of 𝐥𝐢𝐤 with writing, what is causing me to doubt X, Y, and Z? Doubt whether or not anybody will read it, doubt anybody will care, doubt that, I'm good enough or smart enough, So what is causing that self-doubt? And it could be, the next question is, where is it coming from? It could be that there was events or experiences or encounters or situations in your life, even as, when you were a toddler to yesterday, that all of a sudden you're doubting yourself. So think about, what are you doubting? I should have added that first. What are the doubts that are coming up for you? What is causing them? Where is it coming from? So what's causing them would be the fear and the been there, done that, any, your failures or your successes from the past, because some people even have a fear of success, not just a fear of failure. And then where's it coming from? Is it coming from an event or an experience or an encounter in your past? Then as you're looking at and discovering all of that from what I'll call the hard side, I won't call it the negative, but the hard side, I want you then looking at the bright side and the easy side and the wonderful side. And that is, what would it look like? Discover for yourself, what would it look like and feel like if you had no self-doubt and you wrote this book and it was just a hit? Discover really and be truthful to yourself about how that would make you feel. A lot of people are scared to acknowledge what they really, really want and what they're really dreaming of and what they really desire, because they're just afraid that if they acknowledge it, people will laugh at them, people will ridicule or judge them, and or they won't accomplish them. But you have to acknowledge them, and you have to be truthful to yourself. You don't have to share this with anybody else, just to yourself. Because if not, then you're just jeopardizing yourself. Because someone else is not going to lose out by you not writing your book or accomplishing the goal that you have or getting that promotion or that bonus. No one else is going to have the impact. Only you are going to have the impact. So you need to make sure that you are doing what's needed and understanding what's going on so you can change it. All right. And so I want you to really be thinking about, all right, so I need to discover the things that aren't working, but then I also need to discover the things that will work or do work. And then I want you to confront them. I want you to kind of look at this list, however you're formulating it. And I want you to confront it with pure honesty and transparency and authenticity and intention and thoughtfulness about how you feel about those things. Account for those things, what I call bitches and riches in my world. So, shedding the bitch is not about a person. It's about your fears, insecurities, doubts, and negativities. And those are the things that are creating the fears and the self-doubts. So we need to really kind of discover them and unravel them and really confront them head on. And again, in this piece, you could be looking at you could ask yourself the same questions about, what if I had no fears? What if I had no self-doubt? And what if I did accomplish this? And I wrote a book that not only was a bestseller, but it changed people's lives. So you want to confront not only the negatives, but you also, or the hards, you want to also confront all of the, what I call riches, because you want to leverage all of those things. Like, oh my gosh, the motivation and the energy and the positivity and the confidence it gives me by thinking that, yes, I could do anything. And yes, I'm going to, I'm going to love and feel wonderful about myself and proud of myself as I'm changing lives as a result of whatever it is I'm writing, fiction or nonfiction, or whatever your situation is. All right. And then once you've confronted things, you have to make decisions about them. You have to make decisions about whether you're going to shed them or hold on to them. So in the confront phase as well, you might be looking for evidence that it's not true, or evidence that it is true. So you might come up with, you're doubting that anybody will read anything that you write. You're doubting that it will be valuable or impactful and change people's lives. You're doubting that you're going to find a publisher, whatever the case might be. The evidence you're looking for is that really true? Is it really true that no one will ever benefit from what it is that I do or what I write or I say? And most likely, if you are writing a book, you have shared your experiences, your tips, your knowledge, your expertise previously. And so look for that evidence of the fact that, you know what, I've written before, I've published before, even if it's online in posts. I've had people comment, say they loved it, say that it changed them, so forth and so on. So you want to look for evidence of those things that are causing you to stop and not move forward, and validating whether or not it's true that you have these fears and insecurities and doubts and negativities. All right. I also want you to look for evidence of all the riches that you're discovering about yourself. The fact that you have written before and it has received great accolades and comments and reviews and likes and follows, whatever the case might be, even money, if you're, publishing for money. And so find and really kind of look for the evidence on all of those. When you get into the shed phase, you're then looking at whether or not, you're going to let go because you found evidence that those fears and insecurities and doubts and negativities are wrong and false, and therefore you're going to let them go. They could be people, places, or things, by the way. So when I was going through my own excavating of my soul, there was definitely people I had to let go of. There was social places that I did. There was even hobbies and routines that I had to give up or walk away from or change up, because I found that they were just feeding that ugliness within me that I no longer wanted. So in the shed phase, you make a decision about what you're going to let go, and even what you're going to hold on to, and what you're going to hold on to so you can leverage it to give you fuel of energy and positivity and confidence and motivation and determination. So discover, confront, and shed. And you're going to find that as you're going through these phases, you're going to find that you're already creating something new, something different. You're already being, transforming and being changed and shifting. So you don't even want to wait, because this 5 phases isn't linear, sequential. It's very iterative. You could start discovering something about yourself that then causes you to create and even accelerate what it is that you want or don't want. It could all of a sudden create and accelerate you shedding. But even before you get into confronting, you just automatically, when you kind of see yourself for the first time, you're like, oh crap, I don't want that, or ooh, I want that. And therefore you all of a sudden appear to jump to creating. So it's a iterative formula and process that you can use each and every day to really, even in a 5-minute process or, 5 hours, to really evaluate what's going on in your world, what's creating this doubt, and then how do you move beyond it. So you're discovering, you're confronting, you're shedding, letting go, or holding on to what you want, and you're all of a sudden creating something new, bigger, different, better, for yourself. And then as a result of that, you want more. All of a sudden, you're getting hungry for even bigger, better, different, newer, and therefore you're just wanting to accelerate your happiness, your joy, your fulfillment, your satisfaction of, in this case, writing the book, so forth and so on. You all of a sudden like say, okay, I'm not only going to write this book, but I'm going to start a podcast to talk about the book, and I'm going to create merchandise and so forth and so on. But, I have found through my own experience, but more so my clients' experiences over the years, that as they move through these phases and they do the work, and it's just a series of questions, but then actions you need to take. For instance, you're asking yourself tons of questions and discovering and confronting. And then in the shedding, you're actually taking actions to let things go, put them aside. And then in the creating and accelerating, it could be a combination of a lot of different things: creating new goals, creating new relationships, going after and taking action on that next project or opportunity that you have. And then, of course, the acceleration is maybe you're now building a bigger network or tribe around you to really accelerate what it is that you're doing and what it is that you want for yourself. So it can be very small, where you're just sitting there and you're staring at in this case, as a writer, you're staring at your computer and you're, kind of gone blank. And you all of a sudden say, you know what, I just want to really think about and discover what's what's holding me up, what's getting in my way. Why am I staring at a blank piece of paper? Where's it coming from? How is it making me feel? How do I want to feel? And then you're confronting that. You're, kind of saying, well, I don't want to get into that personal part of my story, or I don't know where my characters are going in my fiction writing. So all of a sudden you're confronting that, and then you're shedding and letting go of, okay, this isn't helping me, and this isn't even true. And therefore I'm going to, kind of let it go, or I'm going to hold on to those things that I'm really discovering and confronting that are working for me. I've done this before. I've been here before. I've succeeded in doing this before. So you're holding on to that, and then you're moving forward, creating and accelerating. So you can use it on a day in and day out basis. Okay. All right. So I am looking across because I want to make sure I don't miss anybody's questions or comments. And again, if you have one, be sure to post it anywhere. We're on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitter. And at the same time, I want to stress that even if you don't, you're not here live, but you have a question or a situation that you want some tips and strategies on, then even if you're watching this in replay, continue to post them. And then myself and my team, I'll know that they're out there, and I'll get with you even directly, though I might respond as well in the comment section, just so other people can learn from your question as well. But don't worry that that this isn't just about being live. You can also do it if you're watching this in a replay. And keep in mind, you can always reach out to me and schedule some complimentary time with me at coachmebernadette.com/discovery call. And then, as I mentioned, if you want to kind of, really understand 3 must-have myths that you've been told over and over again and are so not true, and then what actually you can do to get recognized and get rewarded for all the great work that you're doing, then go to powerhourcoaching.com and download our 3 must-have myths to success. And also come back and let me know what you thought about it. All right. And lastly, since I mentioned the mug, Shedding the Corporate Bitch, our podcast and videocast, airs every Tuesday at noon Eastern time. And then again, it's available on any of your podcast streaming services and on our Shed the Bitch TV channel on YouTube. All right. Oops. That's not what I wanted to do. So for everyone here within the Ball of Fire community, I want to thank you, and I will see you next Tuesday. Or I'm sorry, that's my call out for my show. I will see you back here next Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern time. And DM me at any point in time should you need to, if you have a question or a challenge. All right. Have a great week, everyone. Take care. Bye.